For 20 years, we thought this was normal. We thought every generation would have a Messi and a Ronaldo. But as the dust settles on their legendary careers, a terrifying realization is hitting the football world. We weren't watching the beginning of a new era. We were watching the end of the last one. Today, we break down why football has changed so much that another Messi or Ronaldo is now literally impossible. Before diving into the reality, make sure to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon button. For more now, Let's Start Football has evolved into a game of systems, tactics, and robots. But Messi and Ronaldo, they were the last of the pure individuals. Let's start with Cristiano. People call him a machine, but he was a human who forced himself to become a god. He started as a skinny winger with too many stepovers at Manchester United and ended as the greatest goal-scoring threat the world has ever seen. But look at how he was developed. He was allowed to fail. He was allowed to showboat. He was allowed to develop an ego. Now look at Messi, an alien, a player who defies physics. He doesn't just play football. He manipulates the space around him. But Messi grew up in La Masia at a time when flair was still the ultimate currency. He was the diamond in a system built for artists. Why are they the last of their kind? Because the academies have changed. If a young Messi showed up at a top European academy today, the coaches would tell him to pass the ball quicker. They would tell him he's too small and needs to focus on pressing triggers. If a young Ronaldo started doing 5 stepovers on the wing today, he'd be benched for not holding his position in a 4-3-3 system. We are moving away from individual brilliance and moving toward system efficiency. Messi and Ronaldo were the last players who were bigger than the systems they played in. When they walked onto the pitch, the tactics didn't matter. They were the tactics. If you look at the stars of today, Mbappe, Haaland, Vinicius Jr., they are incredible. But they are specialized tools. Haaland is a finisher. If he doesn't get the ball in the box, he doesn't impact the game. Mbappe is a speedster. If there's no space behind the defense, his threat is halved. But Messi and Ronaldo, they were total footballers. At their peak, they could do everything. Ronaldo could score a 40-yard screamer, a towering header, a tap-in, or a solo run from the halfway line. Messi could be the best playmaker, the best dribbler, and the best finisher on the pitch, all at the same time. The evolution of sports science and data analytics has changed the game's DNA. Coaches like Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have perfected the system. In a modern top-tier team, the manager is the star. The players are cogs in a high-pressing, high-intensity machine. Data tells a coach that dribbling is high risk. Data tells a player that shooting from outside the box has a low XG, expected goal. Messi and Ronaldo lived on high-risk plays. They took the shots no one else dared to take. They made the passes no one else saw. But in 2024 and beyond, young players are being trained to play safe football. They are being trained to be efficient, not magical. This is why we say they are the last of their kind. You can't have a new Messi if the system doesn't allow a player to take 5 players on. You can't have a new Ronaldo if a player isn't allowed to demand every ball and take every shot. The individual ego that made them great is being coached out of the next generation in favor of the team press. So, here we are, approaching the 2026 World Cup. The stadiums will be bigger, the grass will be perfect, and the technology will be state-of-the-art. But there will be a hole in the center of the pitch. We are entering an era of parity, an era where any team can beat any team because everyone is using the same data, the same fitness programs, and the same tactics. In this world, a player who can consistently produce magic, something that isn't in the data, is becoming a myth. The commentary analysis, the emotional conclusion. We often argue about who is better, but maybe we should have been arguing about how lucky we were. We witnessed a 20-year anomaly. In any other sport, tennis with Federer, Nadal, basketball with Jordan, LeBron, these rivalries eventually end. But in football, the gap between Messi, Ronaldo, and the rest of the world wasn't just a gap. It was a canyon. The evolution of football has made the game faster, more athletic, and more tactical. But it has also made it more predictable. Messi and Ronaldo were the chaos factors. They were the players who could break a game that was perfectly designed by the world's best coaches. Final verdict. Will we see another player score 50 goals a season? Maybe. Will we see another player win a World Cup off pure individual will? Perhaps. But will we see two players dominate the entire planet, redefine the limits of human performance, and carry the hopes of billions for 2 straight decades? The answer is a painful no. The era of the individual god is over. The era of the system superstar has begun. Messi and Ronaldo weren't just the best players of their time. They were the final peak of a mountain that football is no longer interested in climbing. Closing loop. As you watch the highlights of Lamine Yamal or the goals of Erling Haaland, enjoy them. They are world-class. But never forget that you lived through the age of the last kings. What do you think? Is football becoming too robotic? Or is the new generation actually better because the game is harder? I want to see your debates in the comments. This is fifahot, and the GOAT era might be fading, but the legends, they live forever. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.